Hi, this is Knitting by Aubrey, and today I'm going to teach you how to do knitting and purling and what the difference is between them. So let's get started. Here I have a piece that I knit in the garter stitch, and this is knitting. Now here's a piece that I have purled, which is also in the garter stitch. But both of them look really similar. So let's look at the difference. I'm using weight 4 yarn or medium yarn today. And I only need a little bit today because I'm just practicing. I'm not making anything. I'm using size US 9 needles. I have cast on 20 stitches and I have been knitting a few rows just in the garter stitch. This will help to show you the difference between knitting and purling. I'm going to start by knitting 1 stitch. Now I'm going to take my piece of yarn connected to the ball and I'm going to flip it so that it's up by the front. And then I'm going to purl a stitch. Then I'll flip the yarn back and do a knit stitch. You'll want to flip your yarn back and forth when you change knitting to purling. For this first row, I want you to do knit, purl, all the way across, just for this first row. Knit 1, purl 1. Remember to always switch back and forth between front and back with your piece of yarn connected to the ball. Otherwise, your knits and your purls will not work. They won't look how they should look. For purling, you want your yarn in front, and for knitting, you want your yarn in back. You can kind of see the difference between knitting and purling versus just knitting on the bottom. For your second row, you will start with a purl stitch and then alternate to the knit stitch. So row 2 will be P1, K1. We have done 2 rows of knitting and purling, and this is what it looks like. Let's do more to make it look more pronounced. To continue, you will repeat row 1. Knit 1, purl 1, and then you'll go on to row 2. And you'll just repeat these until you are satisfied with your knitting and purling skills. we go. We can start to see the difference now. You can see that at the top there's kind of these little polka dots. Those are from the purl stitches. This pattern is actually called the seed stitch, where you alternate knit and purl stitches. And they look like little polka dots, and it's so cute. Look at these stitches. I can tell that they are alternating because of the little bumps they make. I can tell that this first stitch is a knit stitch because it's more flat and it has a loop. And so I'm going to purl it. The next stitch, I can tell that it's a purl stitch because of that little bump right there. And so I'm going to knit that one. When working in the seed stitch, I want to do the opposite to the stitch that's already been done. And so if a knit stitch has already been done, I will purl that stitch next. If a purl stitch has already been done, I will knit that stitch next. You want to alternate them. You don't want them to be the same, or else it won't end up with polka dots or seeds all over it. My hands get so tired when I do the seed stitch because you're alternating that piece of yarn so much, and that just makes your fingers hurt. So it takes practice, but it also really works your finger muscles. Here we go. You can see the seed stitch really clearly now. And you can really see the difference between that knitting on the bottom versus the seeds on top. The seed stitch is nice and stretchy, but still firm. It kind of has a diagonal stretch to it. Another nice thing about the seed stitch is that it's reversible, so it looks the same on both sides, and it's great. The main difference between knitting and purling is where the knot ends up. With knitting, the knot ends up in the back, and with purling, it ends up in the front. I hope this helps, and see y'all later.